Councilman Dickinson.
Here.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Here.
Councilman Girl.
Here.
Councilman Hug.
Here.
Councilman Morris.
Here.
Councilman Mudrin.
Here.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Here.
Councilman Turk.
Here.
First on the agenda this evening is a presentation. It's the Illinois Association of Chiefs of Police Certification. It's presented by William R. Kushner. He's the Vice President at Large for the Illinois Association of Chiefs of Police. They come forward.
Krista. Chief is busy with some folks. I think he's coming in. He's coming in. Okay.
Good evening. I'm very honored to be here this evening to present the certification as a police chief to Chief Benton. By way of introduction, I'm one of 3 vice presidents at large. I represent the northeastern portion of the state of Illinois. I have 7 counties. Chief Benton began a process that the Illinois Chiefs undertook in 1996. He began it about a year ago. It's a voluntary police chief certification to ensure that we have the highest level of leadership in our police agencies in the state of Illinois. We are the only state in the union to have a voluntary police chief certification program. Further explanation, there are 1,880 police agencies in the state of Illinois. Chief Benton now becomes one of 79 certified chiefs in the state of Illinois. There are 39 commando officers throughout the state that are certified eligible. Brian, I'm proud to present you with your certification as a certified police chief in the state of Illinois. I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Chief. I'd like to thank Chief Kushner for being here and point out that he's actually missing his own city council meeting to be here tonight to present this. No, this is, I'm kind of a modest man, so when they first indicated they were going to come present this to me, I was initially going to decline. But I felt, I'm often emphasizing the importance of professionalism to our officers. We emphasize the highest standards through our CLEA accreditation, and what better way than to set the example by trying to better myself professionally. So I think this only helps our organization and our city as a whole. So I thank you again, and it's truly an honor.
Congratulations.
Next is citizens to be heard on agenda items. Is there anyone present that would like to speak on an agenda item this evening? Seeing none, we'll pass it to the city manager to discuss the agenda items for tomorrow night's meeting.
Okay, thank you. Public service and public safety committees will provide their reports. There are 3 items on the consent agenda: approval of minutes, regular payroll, and position vacancies, job descriptions. There are 2 public hearings. First is Council Memo 520-17, approving the annexation of 4 acres located at 2121 South Chicago Street. This is at the southwest corner of Route 53 and Emerald Drive. This item has been on the agenda for a number of times and continued. And the reason why is there were many moving parts with this particular annexation. To summarize, the proposed Speedway gas station is on a portion of the city previously annexed and a portion that will be annexed. The proposal is a 4,600 square foot building. The city will vacate a portion of unimproved Millicent Avenue and Joliet Street. The developer has negotiated with an adjoining property owner to construct Emerald Drive into a full 4-way intersection. It is currently a three-way intersection with a driveway as the 4th leg. The developer will construct Emerald Drive, and if the property to the west or the 40-acre school site develops, there is also language that Marcella Ave will be constructed. Marcella Ave is currently unimproved and runs behind the property to Laraway Road. A preliminary plat is also on the agenda for approval. The attorney for Speedway is here if you have any questions. And there is another item, Council Memo 528-17, but I'll get to that one when it's the time in the agenda.
Any questions? Any questions? Okay, thank you, Marty. Go ahead.
Okay, the next is Council Memo 521-17, approving the annexation of 307 Harwood Street, classification to R2A, single-family residential zoning, and approval of an annexation agreement. This is a single lot annexation for construction of a house. Under ordinances and resolutions, ordinances, Council Memo 523-17, an ordinance approving a special use permit to allow an auto body shop located at 112 Henderson Avenue. The petitioner discussed with staff a proposed business, and then staff relayed to the petitioner in order to open an auto body shop, the city requires a special use permit, and that's what this is. The property is zoned I-1. No one appeared at the zoning board meeting hearing to object.
Margie,
Yes.
Is this building vacant at this time, or is it being occupied as a different business?
Kendall?
Members of the council, I believe the building is vacant at this time.
Thank you.
Mayor, question. I noticed there weren't any pictures in here. Were there any available of the property?
We'll get pictures for tomorrow night's meeting.
And the other question was, on mine, I know.
Send them to me.
The other question I have is, when notices were sent out, how far did we go?
We go to 600 feet now.
Okay, all right.
That is above and beyond the 300 feet that we had been doing before.
That's why I want to know. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Go ahead, Mark. Thank you.
Okay, next is Council Memo 524-17, ordinance declaring certain properties as public nuisances. There's 402-404 South Joliet, 715 East Washington, 721 East Washington, 517 Albert, and 16 North Center. I know, and I did note, I saw today there was a newer picture or a more recent picture of 715 East Washington, and I'm not sure which one is in your pack, but it was obstructed by trees, so there is a better picture floating around. Council Memo 525-17, ordinance for the levying and assessment of taxes for the 2015 Special Service Area Neighborhood Improvement Program.
Any questions? No? Okay, thanks.
Okay, under resolutions, Council Memo 527-17, resolution approving a TIF development agreement with Stadium Club LLC, 141 East Jefferson Street. This is the building located in the right field of our baseball multi-purpose stadium. Zoning has already been secured for 11 residential units and commercial space on the ground floor. Market dynamics are complicated for a development such as this, which necessitate private-public partnership. And that, just to summarize, it's because the appraised values after construction are not allowing lenders to provide the necessary financing. So the city will rebate future incremental property tax revenues of 50% to reimburse eligible redevelopment expenses, TIF grant of $300,000, a city center partnership grant of $100,000, and building permanent impact fees will be waived. Redevelopment costs are estimated to be just under $1.9 million. The sale price is $300,000 with a construction credit upon development costs meeting the threshold. The September Economic Development Committee meeting discussed the terms and recommended support, and the developer is here if you have any questions.
Marty, the parking is in that lot just immediately east of the.
Yes, just to the east.
And how many spots will they have?
Is there 26? Okay.
26.
Right, which isn't the entire lot, it's a
Right.
portion of the lot. And we've left open the possibility that they could do some rotting and fencing around it. And they've even talked about the possibility of putting a canopy over it as an amenity to their residents. So it's a partial lot, and the remaining portion will probably continue to be used by the high school. And in fact, that's who the primary parker is there right now.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. You ready? I'm good. Thanks, Marty.
Okay, the next is Council Memo 528-17, resolution authorizing execution of a retail tax rebate agreement with Speedway. This is again at the southwest corner of Route 53, Emerald Drive. This ties in with the annexation agreement above. Speedway is seeking a 50% sales tax rebate for 10 years due to the infrastructure costs required by the city, summarized as follows. The extension of Emerald Drive west of 53, intersection improvements and traffic lights at Emerald and 53. So originally when the Ryan development came through, it was proposed to be a three-way, but now with this, it'll be a four-way intersection with a full traffic lights. Land acquisition for extension of Emerald Drive. In order to align Emerald Drive, the developer was required to acquire right-of-way from an adjoining property owner, which then cut into the adjoining property owner's parking lot. Annual sales tax is expected to be $310,000. If and when development occurs to the west, the city will be in a position to recoup via a recapture agreement. And again, the attorney is here from Speedway if you have any questions.
Yeah, go ahead. For Marty.
Yep.
Marty, will the traffic, particularly the truck traffic within the industrial park, will it be kind of routed out to 53, I assume, and not east to Rowell Avenue? Or has that been decided yet? Since I know we're making a lot of improvements to Emerald Road, and there's also going to be, traffic lighting there at 53. I'm assuming the goal would be to route the traffic out of the industrial park to 53. Or,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there will not be a through.
There's not a through to Rowell Avenue,
Yes.
because that road
Correct.
certainly can't handle all that truck traffic.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
And then if you recall, when we did the annexation agreement for the high school or the grade school property, that was the 40 acres, and we asked that traffic not be routed onto Laraway into that intersection, but instead come around. So there's a few additional moving parts with this that kind of depend on what happens in the future, but then it would be all set for a potential traffic light and easier access.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, Rowell does have truck restrictions to the north.
To the north, okay.
To the north of the utilities.
So Marty, the traffic light is going to be installed prior to the development by the state, or?
Well, there's a couple other proposals that are out there. One of them is having a temporary light out there.
During the development stage?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, there's actually a little more to this because, at Emerald and 53. So the state has told the city, if you want to put the traffic light in, you need to do additional intersection improvements at Laraway.
What type of specify?
Well, we're working on that now, but they want turn lanes. They want the city to construct turn lanes at Laraway and 53. I mean, this is why this has taken so long, because of all these, there's a grant to do the lights, but then the city, the state said if you want the grant money, you have to do other improvements.
On our dime.
Well, we're working on that too.
I mean, 53 is a state road, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
It is.
Okay.
Well, in the meantime, will the state go along with a temporary light?
If they don't have to pay for it, we know that they will allow it.
Okay. And that could be done before the improvements?
Well, that's another thing we still have to clarify. There's a lot of moving parts with this.
So I have a question. Should we get this all clarified before we vote on this tomorrow?
Well, the developer and the attorney are ready to move forward, so.
Yeah, but there's a lot that's kind of left in limbo here
Parts.
with all the moving parts. I think all the moving parts aren't working right now.
Mr. Philipchuk, would you like to address that?
Good evening, thank you. My name is John Philipchuk, and I represent Speedway. We've been working closely with staff on this. Speedway is ready to step in and get this work done, but of course, because as you mentioned, IDOT and 53, it's their call. So we're trying to work with IDOT to get an IGA, an intergovernmental agreement, that says, yes, it's okay, Joliet, if you go ahead and authorize temp signals to go in while this other stuff gets worked out. The biggest thing is, for Speedway to be able to proceed, we feel we gotta have a signal at that intersection. That's just a given. And you're all familiar with the traffic out there. And we hope to get that traffic to come into our station, obviously. So, as Marty had mentioned, we've been at this for some time, and it seems that IDOT kind of makes the target move sometimes. And but if we can pin them down, we think we can get this done. Speedway's concern is our contracts to purchase the property are running out. We have, our due diligence is up in about a week and a half with our sellers, and we've had to continue a few times, and so we think we're at the point where we're not going to be able to go some more with them. And so our hope would be that we can get your approval of the annexation agreement, the rebate agreement. We've worked with Dr. Shaw, who owns the property next to us, so that we can get the property necessary to get Emerald extended and get that other property developed eventually to the west. So what's critical for us would be to get your approval of our agreements. And then I know staff and Steve Jones is working with IDOT reps to be able to get the okay to do the temp signals. And that's what's critical for us. But this is the first step to get council's approval of an annexation agreement and the rebate agreement. And then we're going to work on getting the other before we would begin construction.
So who's on the hook for all the cost of the turning lanes and the light and everything? Because those are very expensive.
Well, there's, as Marty mentioned, there is a grant, and they call it an economic development grant, an EDP, for intersection improvements. And when the city approached them, hey, we've got Speedway ready to go on this corner, let's get this done. They said, well, you know, Laraway needs a little work. We think some of that money should go down there. And when the city said, wait a minute, what are you doing? Then I had said, well, maybe we can find some more money to help out with Laraway. But in the meantime, we approached staff and said, look, Speedway will front fund those improvements if we can get the sales tax rebate agreement. So that you know, ultimately, if you get the grant money, you get paid back, and we don't have to do it. But we're standing ready to do it. Speedway's ready to use its money to go ahead and do the improvements if it comes to that. That's why the number is what it is, because we put that all in there. And if IDOT drags its heels, all we need is that approval for the temp signals, and we'll go. We'll do everything if we have to.
Question.
Go ahead.
So that was about 1.3, 1.5 million for the, that includes the Laraway improvements and the permanent light?
That does not include anything with Laraway, no. That would come out of that EDP grant, that economic development grant.
Are we guaranteed the EDP grant?
Well, we have one portion of it now that they've added an additional step to this. We're reapplying for additional funding.
Okay. So if they deny that, of course, I have full faith in the state of Illinois, but if they deny that application?
We're gonna have to revisit the issue.
And what does that do to Speedway if we approve this and they buy the property before their time runs out?
Sure, we would be calling them in and having a meeting to come up with a solution.
And you guys in Speedway's comfortable with that? Knowing that it could hold up once you own it, it could still be held up if the state doesn't come through?
No, we're not comfortable with that. What we need is that approval for the temporary signal. That's what's critical to Speedway. If we can get the approval of the temporary signal, then we'll go forward. We'll put in the temporary signal. Once we have that, then we'll put in the intersection improvements if IDOT says go. If they don't, we'll operate. We'll build our station. We'll operate with the temp signal, and we won't have all the improvements yet. That we will do. It's just that we won't move forward if we can't get the temporary signal. That's critical.
And so what the temporary signal improvements on the Emerald intersection is contingent, as it appears right now, that the city, whether they get the grant or not.
No, we have the grant. We're now
fully
applying.
Cover the Laraway improvements.
Now we're applying for a second grant.
For the Laraway.
Yes, to cover Laraway.
Right. So what if the state says no to the second grant? I mean, are we guaranteed they're going to say yes?
No, there's no guarantee. Of course, it can't guarantee.
Then what do we do? Then we're on the hook to pay for the improvements?
Yes.
Well, it'll be done though through the rebate. So our sales tax will ultimately, we'll put the improvements in on Emerald, okay? So Emerald would be done based on our agreement with the city.
No, I get that,
Yeah.
but from our side, we're being told by IDOT, we have to make improvements on their state route.
I guess what you're asking then is if the secondary grant doesn't come through, the city would then be required to pay for the Lairway improvements if it wants the grant for the Emerald improvements.
And if we don't, then you would pay for the Emerald improvements and get it back, claw it back through the tax rebate, right?
Correct.
And we can do that without, we can say, nope, we're not gonna do Lairway, they're gonna pay for the Emerald. Or is the state gonna say no?
Now, hopefully they'll say yes.
Hopefully.
It's the unknown here that's bothering me.
Yeah.
I mean, if we approve this tomorrow, are we locked in to pay for the Lairway improvements if the state grant doesn't come through?
No,
That's the bottom line.
we're not locked in.
Will it stop this development?
Well, no, but I defer to you.
It's not.
So we don't have to guarantee improvement on Lairway, just improvement on Emerald, which you guys are going to fund.
Correct.
And claw that through the
That's right.
taxes.
That's
Okay,
right.
thank you.
But, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, just kind of picking up what Councilman Huggett says, I mean, we're not required to do the Lairway Road improvements. I think what this gentleman's looking for, which we've done these sort of rebate agreements in the past, you want to get your temporary signalization is, so you can move forward with your deal,
Yes.
which it sounds like time's running out in about a week and a half, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so, okay.
And follow up on that, and if they don't, you're gonna pay for the improvements on Emerald and get it back through the taxes.
Yes.
If we do get approval of the second grant, then they're gonna have a grant for both, the Lairway
Yes,
improvements and that, and so you'll pay less upfront. If we were to get the grant.
That's
Okay.
correct. We're gonna back it up to get them all done, but if we get the grant, then yeah, we don't have to do it. You guys don't have to share the sales tax.
And that's
You'll
stated
get
in the
more.
agreement that it's a maximum 1.5 million or whatever, but on real costs only, so.
On costs.
The lower the cost, the less they get back.
Right?
Right, we want to hear from John and
And we-
then Councilman Morris.
Yeah, just to kind of finish up, I mean, I think it's a good thing that we're getting some signalization out there on Emerald and Route 53, so this is a good, this is definitely I think a positive thing, so. yeah, thank you.
Well, we did have a meeting with maybe half a dozen IDOT officials a couple weeks ago, and all the parties in that general area, including Mr. Philip Chuck, were there and kind of laid it all out, the importance of the traffic signal. So,
Councilman Morris.
Yeah, so help me understand. So if we don't do Lairway, we may not get the grant for Emerald.
correct.
But then Speedway is gonna take care of that. Is that?
Yes.
Yes.
Kind of what Larry said at the end that helped.
Yes.
Is that right? So,
Yes.
So the state,
That's correct.
everybody's shaking
Yes,
their
sir.
head.
That's
So
correct.
the state is saying if we don't do the improvements on Lairway, or you saying that we may not get the grant for Emerald.
Correct.
Okay, so what happened to I thought Cadence had put money for the signal as well for Emerald Avenue.
Yeah, Ryan did, and that'll
Ryan.
be part of that
So
pool.
that's- Okay,
But the pool isn't enough to cover
it's still not,
it's not enough.
okay, what Ryan, I'm sorry, what Ryan did as well as what Speedway is doing.
Well, Ryan was a number of years ago, but that pool of money is not enough to do the traffic signals for that intersection.
Okay, it was just a portion of
It
it.
was a portion, yes.
But then with Speedway, it's enough to do the signal or just the temporary signal and improvements.
Well, I would like to explain that a little bit. Right now, there is 1.4 million granted for this project. And right now, we all thought that 1.4 was going to Emerald only. And then IDOT asked for Lairway to be thrown in. So really what the difference is here is now they're going back, the cap is 2 million for an EDP grant. So they're going back for that additional funds to cover the Lairway. If the addition, everything points that it will be approved because of all the manufacturing jobs. The whole thing about EDP is to bring manufacturing jobs to the state of Illinois. And so that's what IKEA and Amazon, thank you, are doing, as well as Speedway. And So the question is, the 1.4 or 1.04, sorry, 1.04 is there already. It's just a matter of, does it get all applied to Emerald and we get more for Laraway, or the city gets more for Laraway? If you, in the worst case, if you don't get any more grant money, that 1.04 is still there to be now divided a little bit on Laraway and a little bit, and the rest on Emerald. The majority will still be on Emerald because IDOT, of course, asked for the moon. Then when we had the meeting that was mentioned, they toned it way down to just a right turn lane for the northbound traffic going east at the Laraway intersection and for the westbound traffic going north. So 2 simple right turn lanes as opposed to a full-blown 4-lane improvement. So it really got shaved down to, in my opinion, and my name is Chris Kulishevsky. I'm an architect for Corporate Design Development Group. We're the architects and engineer for Speedway. And so it's really been reduced. So the question isn't whether we get all or nothing. It's just a matter of how much is going to go to Emerald of the already 1.04 that's already granted. We're hoping to get more so that all the 53 in Laraway gets paid that way. But if it doesn't, then some of that 1.04 goes to 53 in Laraway for these right turn lanes. The remainder stays at Emerald, and then we will be doing the amount to make up anything that needs to be done, and that's what's in the tax rebate program. And again, we've given you the worst case. So hopefully everything goes well and we won't be needing near the amount that we're asking for.
Councilman.
And thank you for that clarification, because if I understand it now, we have the 1.0 for roughly a little over 1 million. Let's say it's 800,000 for Emerald and 300,000 for, 400,000 for Laraway. 400,000 will be taken out, leaving 600,000 as an example, right? And then you guys, to claw back through the tax, will make up the difference of that lost 400,000 for the Emerald.
Yes.
That's another option, yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Okay.
Like I said, many moving parts. We've been working on this for a long time.
Well, good. Thank you so much for your presentation. Thank you.
Okay, Council Memo 529-17, resolution appropriating additional funds associated with an intergovernmental agreement with the Illinois Department of Transportation for the US Route 30 at Interstate 55 ramp improvement project. Since motor fuel tax funds are being utilized as Joliet's source of funding, Illinois requires passage of a resolution. Council Memo 530-17, a resolution approving amendment number 1 to the state capital grant agreement between the State of Illinois Department of Transportation, Office of Intermodal Project Implementation, and the City of Joliet. The $30 million capital assistance grant is being increased in the amount of $250,000 to allocate funding for the Amtrak Public Information Display System, otherwise known as PIDS. Under bids and contracts, these items will be reviewed by Public Service Committee tomorrow, who will report on any issues. But there are at least 2 items I want to bring, or there are 2 items that I want to bring your attention to. First, the request to purchase a laser system for crime or crash reconstruction, Council Memo 536-17. When responding to crime scenes and crashes, countless hours are spent photographing, measuring, mapping, and drawing scenes. This is tedious and time-consuming. And I saw earlier last month firsthand how long it takes to process a crime scene. And you have to process the crime scene before you can collect any physical evidence. And you can read more about the FRO 3D laser system in the council memo. And the Will County State's attorney has offered to pay for half of the purchase price. And he will, it's my understanding, be here tomorrow. Second, Council Memo 537-17.
Mark,
yes.
Excuse me just one second, Councilman.
And it'll come before our committee tomorrow, but I just want to point out when I see 66% reduction in man hours for the investigation roughly, that's great. Because we have to do more with what we have. And so I think that's a good idea. And I appreciate the state's attorney.
Absolutely,
Right.
so do I.
We'll thank him tomorrow, won't we?
Thank him tomorrow for sure. Okay. All right, Marty, thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Okay, second, Council Memo 537-17, it's a replacement boiler for fleet services. Initially, the city looked at an entirely new system. We thought the cost would be about $100,000 to $125,000. Single bid was received for $418,000, so we are going to reject that bid, and rather than replace the entire system, replace the current malfunctioning boiler. And there will be a request for executive session tomorrow.
Next, we have public comments. First is Judy Kreiser.
They left. Their issue was taken care of.
Okay. Is there anyone present that would like to speak under public comments?
Hello, Rachel Ventura. I have an announcement and I have a comment. So my announcement is the Bicentennial Park is holding auditions for the Drunken Gnome show. The auditions are Sunday, October 8th at 6:30 and Monday, the 9th at 6:30. The show is the first weekend of December. And my comment is I do remain a supporter of tourism, and I know the Rock and Roll Museum was in here recently to give a presentation. I was not able to come to that event, but I would like to say that I do support them, and I hope that the city will open their arms to them and work together to have all of our assets work together so that tourism can continue to come and bring money to our city. Thank you.
Is there anyone else present that would like to speak under public comments?
Ms. Mayor,
Yes.
I would like a closed session if we could
We can do it.
discuss.
There's a,
Yes.
there will be one.
Okay. Is there a motion to go into closed session to discuss personnel, collective bargaining, land acquisition or conveyance pending or threatened litigation, after which the meeting will be adjourned?
Second.
In motion seconded to approve, Councilman Dickinson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Hang it in there.